Good morning. Welcome to the regular town council meeting for February 7th in the green room. Let's begin to stand and take the pledge. And Dennis, if you would lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Dennis.
The table moved with the chairs.
Number 2 is visitors. Are there any visitors who would like to be recognized?
Good morning again. I'm Wayne Buchanan. I'm the chairman of the Republican Town Committee. And I'm here to endorse Larry Pilcher for a position as the alternate on the zoning Board of Appeals. Larry's a veteran, was a platoon commander in Vietnam. He's been an attorney for many years for the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority. Larry's been a commissioner on the Clinton Housing Authority, coach for youth. He was our candidate for the Board of Education this year as well. And he's got a heart of service. And so I just want to endorse him and encourage you to approve his position as the alternate on that board. And Larry's here with his wife, Lori.
Thank you. Any other visitors? All right. Item number 3, the approval of minutes for January 17th, 2024. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 4, appointments and reappointments. We have Lawrence Pilcher for the Zoning Board of Appeals, the alternate seat until November 2025. Does anybody have any questions for Lawrence? No? No? Thank you, Lawrence. Is there a motion to appoint Lawrence to the ZBA?
So moved.
All right, second? All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Lawrence.
All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Appointment number 2, Elif Ahmed for the Sustainability Committee for a term until 6/30/2024. Welcome, Elif. How are you doing? Good. Good. Elif, thank you very much. Any questions for Elif? Is there a motion to appoint Elif to the Sustainability Committee? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Third is we're looking for a town council representative to the Police Pension Committee from the council. Are there any council members who would be interested?
Yeah, I checked with my boss and I can do it, so I'll put my name forward.
Okay, great. Do we need a motion for that? Oh, yeah. Yep, oh, yeah. So motion?
So
Do I
moved.
hear a motion? Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed? All right, motion passes. And finally, we need a little explanation because we're not really sure about the town council representative, River Cog Regional Agricultural Council, and the commitment necessary.
It isn't a town council member, so
Ah,
the COG has a regional agricultural council.
Okay.
Every town has a representative. Clinton has not had a representative for a while, so they're asking for somebody who has an interest in farming or is somehow involved in agriculture to be appointed from Clinton.
okay. I imagine we're not ready for that this morning, but we have something to think about for the next meeting. We'll put that on. Okay, thank you very
Carl,
much.
do you know if that's a monthly, quarterly, biannual commitment?
I don't know.
Okay.
Monthly would be the minimum I would expect.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you. Item number 5, presentation of the audit from PKF O'Connor Davies. Morning.
Morning. I'm Catherine Patnod. I'm a partner with PKF O'Connor Davies and in charge of the town's audit. Did you all get a copy of the presentation? Okay. So I'm just going to run through the reports. We issued the annual comprehensive financial report and the federal and state single audits. Our opinion on the financial statements was an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion. Management's discussion and analysis, which is at the beginning of the financial statements, which is the bigger report, is a good executive summary of your fiscal year operations. It talks about your general fund balance. You had an increase in fund balance of 1.7 million. Your unassigned fund balance as a percent of 2023 expenditures and transfers out was 29.1%. In the financial statements, you also have your general fund on a GAAP basis, which is on Exhibit C and D. Unassigned fund balance on Exhibit C was 17 million, and the same net change in fund balance of 1.7 million, an increase. There's also the footnotes in the financial statements. The one change this year was the implementation of GASB Statement Number 96 on subscription-based information technology arrangements, very similar to leases, but for software subscriptions. There is no beginning balance adjustment, just a current year addition of 117,000, so nothing significant. On your general fund budgetary basis, which is on RSI 1A and 1B, your revenues and other financing sources were above budget by a net of 598,000. This included property taxes above budget by 1 million, charges for services above budget by 234,000, income from investments, primarily due to the increased interest rates, above budget by 779,000. Transfers in were also above budget by 248,000, and these were partially offset by an appropriation of fund balance of 1,869,000 and an appropriation of committed fund balance for 3,600. Your expenditures and other financing uses were under budget by $1.1 million. This included the general government function was under by 687,000. A significant portion of that was the health and life insurance, being 339,000 under budget, and the education function was under by 154,000. Also in your RSI are schedules on the pension and OPEB plans. The police pension is 58% funded, which is a decrease from the prior year by 2.86%. The decrease was primarily due to an increase in the change in assumptions of $2 million, but it was partially offset by an increase in fair value of 1.2 million. So this overall increased your net pension liability. The education pension percent funded is 87%, which was an increase from the prior year of 5.89%. This was primarily due to an increase in fair value of 710,000, which decreased the net pension liability. The volunteer fire pension is 18% funded, which is an increase from the prior year of 1.42%. And an overall, the increase was due to an increase in fair value of 17,000, and the overall increase to the net pension liability was due to a change in assumptions. For your OPEB plans, the town plan had a net liability of 1.9 million, which was a decrease from the prior year by 478,000, primarily due to differences between expected and actual experience of 656,000. And the education OPEB plan had a net liability of 4.6 million, which was an increase from the prior year of 87,000, primarily due to an overall increase in the total OPEB liability of 94,000. These plans are both currently not actively funded, basically pay as you go. For the single audits, both federal and state, we had no findings or question costs. For the federal, we tested the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds and the Education Stabilization Fund. And for the state single audit, we tested the Town Aid Road Grants Transportation Fund, the Small Town Economic Assistance Program, or STEEP, and the Tiered Payment in Lieu of Taxes Program, which includes municipal revenue sharing. For communication with those charged with governance, which was the small letter that you received, we discuss our responsibilities. Our responsibility is to form and express an opinion about whether the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects. It mentions that we are independent. We had no uncorrected misstatements and no material adjustments. For new applicable GASB statements that are upcoming, the only significant one is GASB 101, uncompensated absences. This just updates recognition and measurement guidance for the liability. We haven't evaluated the effect yet, but it only affects your government-wide financial statements, which are Exhibits A and B. And the last item is the recommendations. The one recommendation is on the education general ledger maintenance to record grant revenues, including the related grants receivable and unearned revenue for all grants as appropriate as of June 30th. So essentially, it's just updating the receivable and unearned revenue balances. Follow up to prior year recommendations. The removed recommendation was that student activities are now recorded in the district's general ledger software beginning July 1st, 2023. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Sorry, that was a lot.
You find any deficiencies or observations?
Just the one recommendation, but we did not consider it to be a significant deficiency or material weakness.
I was going to ask you a question about the pension funds. There was a change in assumption. Do you know what that assumption was? Actuarial longer lives?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. It could have been the mortality tables. Well, actually, let me.
And then we didn't see it was offset somewhat, but the market's done real well.
Yes.
But this is through June 30th of 2023.
Yes.
And the market really kicked in after that.
Yeah, there was definitely an increase from last year. I know 22, most pension plans across the board had investment losses, so there was definitely a significant increase in 23. For the change in assumptions, the police plan, the investment rate of return decreased 0.25%. The mortality assumptions were updated for all three plans, and the volunteer firefighters plan, the investment rate decreased 0.25%.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Do we need to accept that, Carl? Or can we?
You should have a motion to accept.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the audit from PKF O'Connor? Second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. My chair's messing with me. Item number 6, the Clinton Land Conservation Trust exemption request to ordinance 194-4A and 194-5A. The Land Conservation Trust is having an event on May 4th. It's the same film event, very successful film event they had a few years ago, and they would like to be able to serve alcohol. And so we have a motion here pursuant to Chapter 194 of the Codified Ordinances. The Town Council hereby provides an exemption to 194-4A, 194-5A to the Clinton Land Conservation Trust to allow alcohol at Town Hall on May 4th. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Is there a second? And any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, on to item number 7, the Sustainability Committee revised charge, and Susan is here to talk to us.
Yes.
Great. Hello.
So, as you guys know, we got certified for bronze finally, and so we looked at our charge, and it really was written to get the certification. So we wanted to pivot off of that charge. You guys should have a copy of what we're proposing. So basically, we're just pivoting to move forward to be able to continue to be certified, but primarily it's working with town council, the commissions and the committees to collaborate with them to go forward with the sustainability concept, the action items, and future certifications.
Excellent. Any questions? Is there a motion to accept the revised charge?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Number 8, the access and due diligence agreement for Pearson School, and I'm going to ask Carl to discuss that with us.
Sure. So this would be an instrument that would give you, you're granting permission to the chosen developer for the Pearson School to enter this property and do some due diligence that they would be doing in advance of securing financing, in advance of bringing the application forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the reuse of the school. So they would be looking to perform certain activities. It's still our property. They need permission to enter the property. So they'd be doing some physical survey work. There would be some hazardous materials assessment taking place inside the building to make sure that they understand the extent to which things might need to be abated, what was done previously when it was the school building versus what the conditions are at present. We've been going back and forth over the length of time where the town would be granting them that permission. We're now in agreement that the work could be done over the course of 120 days, so that would be the extent of the agreement. This is not a sales agreement, this is just giving them the ability to enter the property and do the evaluations that they need in order to tee up for the next steps of the development process and to understand the building more than what's been disclosed to date.
Okay, would anyone like to make a motion? Do you have the motion, Chris?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Town council hereby authorizes and directs the town manager to execute an access and due diligence agreement as approved by the town attorney to allow Zenith Partners Connecticut LLC and its agents to enter the Pearson School property to complete further due diligence.
Is there a motion? Oh, Chris made the motion, second, yep. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you. On to item number 9, the South Central Connecticut Mutual Police Assistance Compact, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask Carl to better explain that than I would.
Sure. So this is sort of a mutual resource agreement that exists across a number of police departments. If one department needs additional backup and support, the other departments come and support each other, and it identifies what the roles and responsibilities of personnel will be when they're in the other municipality, what the insurance and liability issues will be associated with bringing in members of another department to provide additional support in a given municipality. We have been a part of this compact before. This is simply renewing the document and having permission to sign an agreement that we're already party to.
All right, thank you very much. The motion is that the town council hereby authorizes and directs the town manager to sign the updated South Central Connecticut Mutual Police Compact. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next, the Downtown Improvement Subcommittee report. So Chris Anaskowicz and Hank Teskey and I met with Abby to discuss this that everybody, but I think Mike has, and we'll get you a copy of it. The downtown, yep, you too, Brian. The downtown vision implementation, and we decided previous to making the committee that the council should take some sort of responsibility on downtown improvement. And so we had the subcommittee, we met with Abby, and we discussed what we thought were our priorities. We decided upon our priorities. And Hank and Chris, would you like to talk about it, or?
Yeah, so there's a lot of priorities, a lot of things to do in downtown, and there's a lot of large things to do that we'd like to take on, and there's some smaller things that are quicker wins. I don't mean to say that they're not as significant, but they're not as a heavy a lift. And so what we focused on in the beginning was signage and blight and beautification to make the downtown just look better. So we've asked Abby to go look at some of our ordinances and give us some direction, and we'll reconvene and think more about that and how we can improve that part of the downtown. So that's the first things we're doing.
Anything to add, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I think the discussion that we've always had here with the council as well is that the struggle with our downtown area is that we don't own the buildings, so there's not much we can have them do. So the other discussion that we had at the meeting was to talk about doing regulations so that we can have discussions about what we would like the facades to look like so try to get more conformity. So if the property was ever sold, that if somebody wanted to do work to the property, there would be guidelines that we would have on record and on paper that they would have to follow. So there's always talk about how we need more conformity downtown. We like things to look better, nicer, and this is one way to do it. I guess the struggle is that we may never see that in our lifetime. If the buildings never sell, there's not much we can do. But we certainly can update blight, update certain things that we can do to kind of make that area look better, I guess is kind of the outcome of the initial meeting.
Right. So we come back to the committee and ask that you recommend that the town council take steps to review the regulatory mechanisms to address the current and future built environment downtown. And these things include a review of the blight ordinance by town council and a conversation with the Planning and Zoning Commission about zoning regulations and design guidelines for downtown. We ask that you request that the town manager assign staff to work on these issues. Is there a motion to move forward?
So moved.
Should we do that since we're on the subcommittee? Yeah,
Sorry?
why not? Second, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any conversation, discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, down to the Morgan School Yearbook Program ad, project graduation request, and the Morgan School Musical Program ad. So we have 3 requests. Morgan project graduation, something that we have done as a tradition. This year, they ask that we contribute $1,500 for that graduation. And we have, let's see, I'm going to have to find my other papers. We have, sorry, Mary, we have $900 for, I seem to have, may I borrow those? Thank you. I misplaced them. All right. Also, the Morgan School Musical Theater requests that we take a full ad for $190. And then, yes, the Morgan School Yearbook, the Tower, to continue our tradition of taking a full-page ad for $375. So is there a motion that we continue with these?
So moved.
Second?
There's a motion in here. Do you want me to read it?
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
The town council hereby agreed to provide support to the Morgan School Yearbook, project graduation, and the Morgan School Musical Program.
And there is a motion on the table? All right, second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Excellent, motion passes. Item number 12, the chairman's report. This is our last meeting with Carl. And Carl has been at council meetings since there's been a council. I simply want to thank him for what I have had the pleasure of working with him on, but there are people here who've worked with him a lot longer. Dennis and Chris, you've been here for 4 years. I would just like to thank you for the work that you have done to move the Pearson project into reuse, and that's going to change a good bit of our town. Thank you for the thoughtful allocation of the ARPA money. And I'd like to thank you for making it possible for these last 2 years, but actually 4 years, though I wasn't here the first 2, in keeping our mill rate flat. And that was possible by this unassigned fund balance that often causes contention, but it's been a really powerful tool for us to use in 4 very difficult years coming out of COVID, where we have lines that form in front of the food pantry at 1 o'clock when the food pantry opens at 4. And we have families who can't afford to stay in their houses. The one thing that we could do, rather than grow the economy, which was difficult in that time, it was to be able to keep taxes down. And the tool that you created by insisting on a 15% was the beginning, and it's grown and made it possible for us to ease the taxpayers' burden, and I appreciate that very much, and I think 13,000 other people in town do too, so thank you. Chris?
I can think of,
Yeah, I know.
so we were just, when we changed our form of government from the, Board of Selectmen to the town manager form of government, it was very, I think, difficult to get everybody to buy into kind of what we did here, because it is a big change. It's not the same environment, it's a different environment. First Selectman is a very different position, very different person, more out into the public, seeing him at the grocery store, seeing him at the baseball fields, the basketball courts and such. So, our change that we did, quite honestly, when you look back at it, it was the best thing that could have ever happened to this town. I feel this town now is in a position, financially, and with the support of a town manager who, obviously with Carl, was the outstanding job that he did here. I mean, I was lucky enough to be able to work directly with him for those 4 years. And I wish more people could have seen and understood kind of what he did on a daily basis. I can honestly sit here right now and say nobody knew how much work Carl did for our town. The work that he did behind the scenes that nobody saw, and the people were more concerned with. We didn't see him out at the Stop and Shop. We didn't see him at the fields. It was hard for people to grasp the idea that that's not his job. His job is as the town manager, and going forward, the job of the town manager will be the individual that runs our town, the individual that, works with department heads, works with the employees in town, and make sure that we strive to do what's best for everybody in town. And I know he did that, 100%. That's all he cared about, was making sure, that everybody in town, that we give back to that. So, me personally, sad to see him go. He was great for our town. And going forward, I hope people really understand and really take charge to understand what a town manager is. And maybe we'd be able to kind of respect a little bit more what he did and understand what he did. So he will be greatly missed in our town. And going forward, I think, the void of him leaving, hopefully we can work through it, but I think there's going to become a time where we'll miss him dearly. So I really, really appreciate all you've done for our town.
Thank you, Carl.
Want me to react, or you want me to do my report?
It's your day, Carl.
Thank you very much. It's nice to hear those words. Being town manager is not an easy job in any community. Being the first manager in a first-time community is more difficult than being a regular town manager. But it's been an adventure for 4 years, certainly a lot that we've had to respond to. COVID was not in my mind when I took this job, but then 3 months later, there it was. So a lot of kind of what I was looking for in this position. The lottery of life changed a little bit. So in January, when I started, my goal was to put together the first budget, and had to quickly throw that together in 45 days. But then COVID threw everything into turmoil, and it's been a challenge moving this town forward for the past 4 years. Leaving is not a decision I made lightly. There's a lot of good in Clinton, a lot of positive relationships that I've built, which makes it difficult to walk away from some aspects of Clinton. And of course, I couldn't do this job on a day-to-day basis without working with Mary, having somebody at least who gets it, and we can share a laugh over a lot of stuff that goes on here.
Thank you. All right, so item number 11, the town manager's report.
So because of having to work on transition issues as well as the budget, I'll give you another purple report. A few things are in process. So the RFP is out for the dock concession as well as the beach concession. So if there are folks that believe they know somebody would be a valid concessionaire for either or both, they should be responding to the RFP that's been posted on the town's website in order to get in for consideration. The WPCC is going to be looking to have an in-depth conversation with the council regarding the future of wastewater treatment plan and issues that they're seeing. They're looking for that to take place sometime in April. Their preference is that not take place immediately before a council meeting in case it needs more than an hour, so that you're not backed up and have a hard stop. So you should be looking for alternate dates in April, and you can meet with the WPCC. The RFP that went out for architectural services at the library, we received 6 proposals, reviewed them. I shared them with Mary Beth. She reviewed it. They're comfortable with moving forward with 2 of the firms. She's making a few reference check calls, and then that will come back at some point in time for the council. If you remember, the conversation was library board would put in 50% and the town would put in 50%. So that will be moving forward. The other items to call your attention to, the landfill capping project, which has been moving. We're close to completion of the agreeing to the terms of the phase 2 part of that project, which is actually bringing in soil and capping the landfill and generating us revenue for the town by receiving payment for the fill that comes in. So that project is, at least between us and the contractor, we're close to conclusion on the agreement. We're still anticipating that DEEP will issue the permit for capping the landfill second quarter of this year is the sort of the anticipated window when DEEP will do it, which puts us at 14 months to get that permit approved through the state. Big bang for the buck is that this wipes out what we're recording as a $6 million liability on the books and addresses a problem that hasn't been touched by the town in a number of years. River Valley COG had its meeting on January 24th. Congressman Courtney was in attendance and gave us a little bit of discussion of what's going on in Washington relative to the budget, federal budget. So that was interesting. And then there was more discussion on Amtrak looking to do a shoreline study. Recall there was a study done a few years back by the Federal Railroad Administration that did not go over well. So Amtrak is looking to do something a little different. I don't recall that it had a specific impact to Clinton. I think the impacts were more further down the line, but that's something to be aware of. Other than other business that normally transpires at a COG to approve monies that are being used by the DOT for projects in the area, continued conversation included around the National Hazard Mitigation Plan update, which the COG is securing another grant to update that plan and asking towns to put in contributions, which will be part of our budget discussion. The Economic Development District is still has not been fully appointed yet by the COG yet, as they look to put together something that works with the Federal Economic Development Administration in order to bring more resources to the area. The only other item I have is something that came in my inbox last night when we were going through the budget. The Clinton Land Conservation Trust is looking to apply for a grant to the state under the Connecticut Recreational Trails Program, funding program. The intent is to replace rotten planks in the Chittenden Hill Preserve. So they're looking for letter of support from the town for their application. Applications are due March 11th. So if the council is not opposed to it, I would prepare a letter of support on your behalf. And I believe that's it for right now.
Okay. The council's not opposed to it.
Okay.
All right, any questions? All right, item 14, council discussion. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have one point. I gotta
tap the master's mind before he leaves. But all these ARPA funds, I noticed that a lot of people haven't taken advantage of spending that money. Allocation in December's coming right around the corner. We have to have it allocated.
Yep.
I'd like to set up a meeting soon. Unfortunately, you won't be here to guide us, but you've guided us so well before. Kept us out of jail. We're not like other towns that had suits against us or anything for not spending the money wisely. One thing I wanted to bring forward was, how do you feel about the fact that maybe we could start taking some of these monies that aren't being spent and reallocating them to different projects? And one project that comes to mind is, in my behalf, and this is where I wanted to get your opinion, was this project we're going to do with the library. I mean, certainly the library, I would think, would fall under the COVID requirements from years ago that they must have suffered because of the COVID, and they should have means to recover. So I was asking your opinion. Do you think it's feasible that I should entertain that in the future when you're not here and when I have all kinds of new people sitting in your chair? Is a possibility that that is something that we could do down the line, is reallocate some of this money to use for our project over there at the library with all that reconstruction. It would take a burden off the taxpayers because, you know, our 50%. Just your opinion, sir, before you leave.
Yeah, so as I've said before, you should be looking at ARPA for whether projects are a go, not a go, and are you going to be able to commit those funds by the end of this calendar year? And by committing, that means you've signed contracts, you've got projects going, or activities going. The largest allotment of money has gone to Park and Rec. Not all of that has gotten its way to bidding yet, so there's bidding pending on pickleball, as well as bidding pending on the bathhouse. Because those are unknowns, it's kind of not clear to me where we're going. We bid out the turf replacement at IROC. That's a little bit under budget, but then when we put out the Peters bleachers, we only got bidding that reflected the cost of new bleachers, not the site work you need to do in order to demo the existing bleachers and prepare the ground with footers and the like for the new bleachers to go up. And there wasn't a lot of competition on the scoreboard either. So you've got a big chunk of that project is unknown, and they need to go back out and rebid the groundwork to be done in order to get that square. So there's some moving pieces, so you need to be mindful of those moving pieces in order to when you're making determinations about what to deauthorize and where to move it to. The library, I don't know whether the library would be at a point you would be hiring somebody to spend those funds for what would turn into a phase 2, a construction project. So you'd have to be making a decision by the end of this calendar year that you have moved through their study phase and you're into construction and ready to go. That's kind of a fast schedule, so I'm not sure that particular project is doable. The architectural study is, that's ARPA is a pot of money I would look for to pay for our half of the architectural study rather than running that through the budget, just because it makes more sense and there's more flexibility in that particular area. But to be at construction, I don't think you would be at construction or hiring an architect to do a design project by the end of the calendar year. Stranger things have happened, I don't think it would move that quickly. But
Okay. But we could use some of that ARPA money for the architectural.
For the study, yes.
For the study.
And that would be a lower dollar amount
Right.
than a construction project. But the general conversation is something you should be gearing up for. If I had my druthers, it would be once you get some of the bidding numbers in on pickleball, and if the beach goes out, and you get that square, so that at least you've got some definitive numbers associated with a largest chunk of that allocation. And then the other stuff, it's just a matter of whether those projects are still a go, not a go, or what's in the pipeline pending. Beyond that, that is a conversation you should have March, maybe.
Yeah, you know, the one that bothers me, I guess, is that we allocated $50,000 for something that's designated as for services or something for the seniors, and it's still there, been untouched.
It's been unaccessed.
No one's come to it, no one's used it. I don't know how much we publicize it or what it's for. I did send a couple of people over social services to get some ideas, but I guess they didn't qualify for some of the other stuff. But so there's $50,000 just sitting there. It's been sitting there now for, I don't know, since we started. And you know, there's several other ones. I don't have that sheet with me, unfortunately, today, but I looked at it, and some of that stuff hasn't changed one nickel since we allocated it. And if that's the case, let's move it. So I think one of these days, I know we have the budget right now, but the next thing you know, we'll be in the crash course come December to try to allocate this stuff. So just keeping in mind that there's some money there, and I just think we better use it or we'll lose it.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I agree, Dennis. I agree, we gotta keep an eye on that.
I think if there's other project ideas, the council should start flagging them, just so that numbers can be put together and vetted, so that we have real numbers to react to, and we don't waste time like we did with pickleball of just throwing out numbers. We went through a process, got real numbers, and then used that to form the basis of appropriation. So if there's ideas, concepts, those things should start floating out, and whether that's a workshop or what, that's up to you to decide.
Okay, thank you. Thanks,
I'd
Dennis.
just like to make one more comment, just so I can get this man's head a lot bigger than what it should be. But, you know, you talk about this town manager and what he's done and everything else. If you heard in his report about that land cap over there in the old dump, and nobody in this town had even thought about it, mentioned it, or anything. This man on his own looked into it to see what could be done with that. It's been sitting there for a long time. We had a study, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 years ago. He spent some kind of grant on it and just laid there. No one even gave it a thought. But this is one of those things that Chris had brought up, was the extras that this man did for this town. And I'm not gonna get emotional, that's why I didn't say a big speech. But I don't think a lot of people in this town appreciated what this man did. And I, for one, know that this town's gonna miss this man greatly. Not just a little bit, greatly. And that Weston just won out. Clinton lost. And that'll be my final comment. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Dennis.
I would like to believe you will attract another professional who will take this job professionally and do a good service for Clinton, as long as you pick somebody who has the expertise and skills to keep moving and build on the progress that's been built to date. And I'm hopeful for Clinton that you will find somebody that can keep building and keep moving the town forward.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
The communication subcommittee is going to have their communication strategy to the council for our next meeting.
Okay, great. Any town council committee liaison reports?
Inland wetlands was yesterday, but I was at the budget meeting yesterday and unable to attend, so I'll have more information for our next meeting.
Okay. Anyone else?
Park and Rec. Carl sort of covered it there, but, just a little bit on the turf. So the turf has been bid out and someone has been selected, and that they were ready to go, and they had an accident on their site somewhere else. And so OSHA, anytime that happens, they have to do an investigation. And so I think they were like literally on site, and we just had to wait, and then it got cold. So it's really about the weather at this point, and when they agree to do it, and when they have an opening. As Carl said, pickleball's out to bid. And he covered the bleachers. We got bids back on the actual doing the bleachers, but the other part of it and the scoreboard was not, there was no responses. So that's still out to bid. And I don't know much about the bathhouse, but I guess that's still getting permits and all that good stuff.
Thank you. Any other liaison reports?
The Economic Development Commission went up to the Morgan High School this month to meet on a culinary arts relationship between the restaurants in town and the high school. And a handful of restaurants showed up, and it was a good meeting hosted by Marco Famiglietti. And then we met in the kitchen where they have a number of students that take culinary arts at the school. And what came from it is we're going to build that relationship stronger. We're going to continue to meet and do more. 3 ideas that came from it is field trips. So the kids are going to go to a restaurant and see how they cook in a real restaurant. There was a couple chefs that were there from a couple of the restaurants, and they offered to come to the school and do demonstrations at the school. And then internship programs, maybe in the summer, some of the kids will work at some of the local restaurants.
Excellent. That's great. Anyone else? All right, so number 16, entertain a motion to go into executive session and invite Carl and Mary. Second? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, so item number 17, the ratification of the police contract. Do I hear a motion
So moved.
to ratify the police contract?
I'll make a motion to ratify the police contract.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? Motion passes. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Conversation? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Adjourned. Thank you, Carl.
Sure.